Welcome back. This lesson is called Gorgatron, and in this lesson you're going to take a program which runs a simple game where you battle a monster called Gorgatron, and we're going to change it by using procedures, functions and parameters and return values, all the concepts that we've been learning. The Gorgatron program is ready-made for you, so if you're one of my students, I'll send you the raw code for you to adapt. If you're looking at this and you're not one of my students, you can just copy the code off the screen. So in this lesson, we're going to revisit how we can decompose a problem into smaller sub-procedures. We're going to look at the use of parameters and returned values. So there's no new concepts here, but it's practice and illustration of the points that we've learned before. We're going to begin by importing a module. If you're not clear about this, you can look at the Python pages lessons because there's something about that there. We're going to import a module written by Python programmers that comes as part of the standard Python download, and it gives us access to additional random functions, and we're going to use a function that generates random integers, somewhat similar to throwing a dice in a game. This is the start of the example program, so if you've got access to our VLE, or if I've emailed it to you, save this program to your own storage or copy and paste the code into a new file. Have a look at the program and run it to see what happens. When you do run it, you'll see an output somewhat like this. You give your character a name. I've called it Mad Max, and then Mad Max gets a random profile. He also has 3 weapons: axe, sword and bow. Gorgatron has quite a strong profile but no weapons, and you have to choose what weapon you want to use, the axe, the sword or the bow, and in this example the character has chosen the axe. So now I'm going to look at how I can use decomposition to simplify and improve the program. If I was writing this program from a blank screen, I was going to plan a game and then write a program to do it, I'd plan these sub-procedures before I went any further. I'd think about the different things that I want to happen in the game, and then I would write code to do them. Instead, obviously, I've already got some code, so what I'm going to do is break my existing code down into smaller tasks and break those off into sub-procedures. And to do this, I'm going to look for blocks of repeated or similar code. Remember what procedures and functions are. Procedures without parameters always do the same thing. But if we send a parameter to the procedure, that allows us to use the same procedure to do several different things. And if we're using a function, we can alter values in the main program as well. So here are 2 blocks of very similar code in my program. The first one shows my profile and the second one shows Gorgatron's profile. I'm going to create a single procedure which will do both of these things. It's somewhat like the show place procedure that we used last lesson. So this is the procedure that I've created. I've called it profile, and it begins with an if-else block where I either set the values to my strength and name and so on, or to Gorgatron's, and then the second part of the procedure where I display those values. The parameter is the name of the character, and that is what I use to branch between the 2 possibilities. This isn't the simplest way to do this program, and later on we'll use object-oriented programming, for example, and greatly simplify it. But for now, this is the best way to approach the problem. In the main program, where I show my profile and Gorgatron's profile, I can now simplify the program greatly, and it shrinks to this size. I've just got profile brackets hero and profile brackets Gorgatron, and all the profile code has been extracted to that procedure. and either Hero or Gorgatron are sent as parameters. In the remainder of the program, the hero chooses a weapon and then fights Gorgatron. So I'm going to write a function now to run the combat between the hero and Gorgatron. The parameter is the choice of combat, so we can have a trial of strength, of speed, or of skill. And the returned value is whether we have won or lost the combat. Here's the current code that runs the combat between the hero and Gorgatron. The very first line, the hero chooses what kind of challenge he wants, strength, skill, or speed. If he chooses strength, his strength and Gorgatron's are compared. If he chooses skill, his strengths and Gorgatron's are compared. And if he chooses speed, his speed and Gorgatron's are compared. If he's better, then he wins. Otherwise, he loses. I've actually added a draw option here, which I'm going to get rid of when I improve this program. Okay, so I can see that there's quite a lot of similarity between these three big blocks of code: the combat of strength, the combat of skill, and the combat of speed. They're similar, but they're not identical. So I'm going to try and create one function that meets all three of those requirements. So let's have a look at what that might look like. Here it is. It's the combat function. It takes the choice of combat as a parameter, and it sets you and the monster to either strength, skill, or speed, depending on what your choice is. It's defaulting to speed, so if you don't tell it what sort of combat, it will just pick speed. It then compares you with the monster. If you're greater, it returns true, otherwise it returns false. In this example, it is very easy to see why converting the code into a function has greatly reduced the amount of work I've got to do and made my program a lot simpler. So this is what my main program looked like before I did that. After I've done it, that's it. That's the program, that part of the program. So I choose what kind of challenge, and then I call the combat procedure with challenge as a parameter. I return the value and store it as a variable called win. If win is true, say you win, otherwise say you lose. So it's greatly simplifying my program. So to recap, in improving the Gorgatron program, I've used decomposition. We've implemented that in a couple of different ways, and we've seen what the advantages are in making our program shorter and simpler and more readable. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson. Your next step is to revise the Gorgatron program in all the ways that I've shown you in this lesson. You can copy exactly what I've shown you, or you can close this lesson and do it on your own. And then there are some enhancements you can make. You can put the whole program inside a loop so that you can have repeated battles against Gorgatron. You can give yourself and Gorgatron hit points, and whenever you win or lose a battle, whenever you lose a battle, you'd lose a hit point. And then when you've lost all your hit points, or Gorgatron has, then you've either won or lost the game. And you can add some extra features to the game. For instance, you could create additional monsters and choose which monster you want to battle each time, and add any other features that you like, such as extra weapons or healing medicines that restore your hit points. So the sky's the limit. Just have a go now. It's good practice of using functions and procedures. All right, so next week we'll continue to look at the different ways that we can pass values between the main program and our functions and procedures. So bye for now.